Okay, I gotta do a Kirk Cousins video because we're coming to the perhaps the end. This could be it. In just a few days. You know, it's what Wednesday. It could be a week from now. Kirk Cousins could be a former Viking. Um, Things are crazy out there. We just had the combine. All sorts of reports coming out during that. Reports the last few days. All sorts of stuff we're hearing about Kirk. Um, the the primary like hot rumor, hot report is that he's going to end up going to the Atlanta Falcons. Um, that they're you know that's the team that's um, you know that's really hot for Kirk, and thinks that they bring him in, pair him with the talent they already have on offense. Very, I think, soft division, winnable division. They can make a big jump up and make the playoffs and contend. Um, if you believe certain reports, it's a done deal. I have no idea. People never learn. Every year there's reports about everything. If you want to believe something about a particular player, there's someone's put out a report that will confirm that for you. Um, I've I don't know if I put this in a video. I think I did like a off-season preview video, but um, my opinion on Kirk coming into this off-season uh, pretty much was always that I thought he would have other offers, you know, but if the Vikings offer was close, that yes, he would come back here. Um, you know, I don't believe that. Talk about the hometown discount. I don't think he's gonna. If the difference is, you know, 20 million a year and you know an extra year on the contract. If it's a huge gap, yeah, then he would go somewhere else. But I do believe I believe Kirk Cousins likes being here. I believe he would like to have the chance to finish out his career here. um, Obviously, his teammates like him. Um, coach likes him. Um, it would hate I would hate it, and I'm sure he would hate it for his Vikings career to end the way it ended. Um, so I do believe he would come back if the Vikings offer is close. And I don't know what close means. That could mean a couple million. That could mean 5 million. That could who knows. We're probably not ever going to really know. Whatever deal he ends up signing, we're probably not going to know what the other deal was, or what other offers were. Um, but yeah, I think that's how it's going to play out. So it's a complete toss up. I have no idea if the Atlanta stuff is true. There still could be another team that decides to get into the mix. I mean, you know, the number of suitors are kind of limited just because you know you know a quarterback his age, and yes, the injury is a concern. Like the injury thing is a huge part of this. If he had a healthy season last year, and say the Vikings go on and win, you know, 10, 11 games, maybe do something in the playoffs, he's already re-signed here. There's no doubt in my mind. Um, or there would be more teams looking to pick him up, but um, like it's a legitimate concern. It's a legitimate red flag. Like I if I'm running the Vikings, if I'm Kwesi, I'm not offering Kirk a huge deal. What to go, and I don't know what even that means. As far as like amount of money, I've seen some reports like he's going to get $50 million a year. I don't think he's going to get $50 million a year, because I don't think the Vikings would go anywhere near that. Um, so then, if it's maybe just Atlanta, like they'd be beating against themselves. Um, and I think overall that could help the Vikings' cause to get him back, is if there aren't that many teams um, um, willing to do it. Um, But no, I mean, I think, like, it sucks because this could be the end. I'm a big Kirk supporter. I'm one of the biggest Kirk supporters. I have been since the day he signed. I thought, or even before he signed, I was like, when it was first, that off season when it was first talked about that he wasn't gonna be back with Washington, and I knew we needed a quarterback. We could use an upgraded quarterback. I was incredibly excited when we signed him, and I'm glad we signed him, and I'm glad we extended him the few times that we did. You know, People don't like to hear this, but the guy lived up to his contract. He did. He lived up to his contracts compared to the rest of the league, and what other quarterbacks like. People could bring up the QB wins shit. I got no time for the QB wins people. But yeah, I mean, it's gonna suck if this is the end because of the way it ended. But the just the madness on like Viking social media covering all this, and all the different reports out there, alleged reports. Florio's been on a total bender with this stuff. It's gonna be. I hope Kirk ends up back here just to watch some of these people have to like fess up to how wrong they were about reports about slant. I mean, the Kirk slander is out of control. There's the Vikings fans who to this day will not accept the reality that Kirk Cousins took less money to come here originally than he would have gotten with the Jets. They think it's all about the money. Like he's taken market value contracts, was willing to sign an extension last year. They decided not to do it. Vikings decided not to do it. That's their prerogative. That's why we got all this dead cap stuff going on. That's their prerogative. But Kirk could have forced his way out at any time. But the Kirk slander. This is one of the things it's been really baffling me the last few days is that the Kirk haters, the Kirk Cousins derangement syndrome people. I've been chronicling it for many years. It's a public playlist on my channel. These people who have just despised Kirk Cousins, and these Vikings fans, supposed Vikings fans, for 6 years they've hated this guy. They've hated him every day. They have relished every loss, every interception, every failure, everything that didn't work out. Everything that didn't work out with the team is 100% his fault. Everything is just these people have just been insane with hate for this one guy for 6 years. But now they are literally as close as they have ever been. Now they all believed a couple years ago that the second anyone who wasn't named Rick Spielman was running the show, that they would see that Kirk is terrible and they're going to get rid of him the first chance they get. Kwesi didn't do that, and that's why a lot of this Vikings fan base hates Kwesi, because he didn't get rid of Kirk right away. That wasn't really close for him being on. Now it is. Like, it's 50-50 that a week from now he's not even going to be here anymore. Maybe if it's even less than 50-50, I don't know. But so these people are the closest they have been throughout this entire era to having Kirk Cousins gone, and they seem angrier than ever. They're just raging. Every report about Kirk, every little rumor about Kirk, they're just raging, calling him greedy, calling him a bum, bringing up all the tired narratives like, his contract kept the Vikings from building a roster. Bullshit. He lost the Giants playoff game by himself. Bullshit. It's just I'm baffled. Like, these people should be this should be their Mardi Gras, man. Like, they might be about to get rid of Kirk Cousins, who has of course been the singular reason the Vikings haven't won a Super Bowl in the last 6 years. This is what they believe. They believe it is singularly Kirk's fault that everything that hasn't worked out with the Vikings over the last 6 years is entirely his fault. And they're mad. I'm baffled by that. But it's Kirk Cousins derangement syndrome. It's just another facet. This might be the end. This might be the last phase, the last throes of Kirk Cousins derangement syndrome. It might move on to Atlanta. We'll see. I've seen plenty of stuff on like social media of like Falcons fans not really being that into the concept of having Kirk. You know, I might have to start showing up on Falcons social media to try to educate them a little bit that um, that Kirk is not what the media will tell you he is. Um, but you know, like it's gonna suck like I'm gonna be sad if this is the end and he's gone. And I understand it from the Vikings perspective. Like I'm okay if this is their decision now. You know, there's reasons not to bring Kirk back. The injury is the number one reason. Like if he didn't have the injury, again, I think he'd already have been re-signed, and I would have been perfectly fine with him playing uncontested as our starting QB for at least a couple more years. The injury is a concern. Now he was dancing on NFL Honors, and there was the video that I think he put out a couple weeks ago, showing him practicing throwing passes. That's not game action, but it's March. It's not supposed to be game action yet, but I don't really have any doubts that Kirk's going to be able to play, in 24 and beyond, and play at a good level. But it is a legitimate concern. I'm not disputing that it's a concern, and it would be a concern if I was Kwesi. It would cap what I would be willing to necessarily give him, especially as far as the years. I really would not go beyond 2 years. I really wouldn't, because it's just in the chance that he can't really perform at that level, and you're locked into him for 3 more years, because you've already got the dead cap stuff, and I'm not, I only kind of half understand. We got all this dead cap money, so even if we bring Kirk back, and pay him, say, I don't know, $30 million, we're already paying him a lot of that anyway, so against the cap, so it's not really costing us much. But that would be an argument for, obviously, for bringing him back. You could even bring him back and pay him a little more because you're not really paying him more against the cap. But again, I wouldn't go beyond 2 years. That's pretty much my standard. And you bring Kirk back even for 2 years, I would still get a quarterback. I mean, I'm completely on board with them getting a quarterback in this draft. I don't have a favorite. The thing that people have to understand, there's like the top 3 guys, and then like maybe a gap, and then maybe McCarthy, and then maybe a gap, and then like Penix and Nix. Like the consensus top 3 guys, it's a mortal lock that at least one of those 3 is going to be a bust, and it's probably a mortal lock that one of those other 3 guys is going to be pretty good. Like that's just how it works, and I'm glad I don't have to hitch my employment to being right about it. But that's to discuss with the draft. I don't know. I think they'll get one of those, like, I mean, we're probably not going to get like Caleb Williams, but I think one of those other 5 guys. We're going to end up with one of those other 5 guys. I do think that. And there have been talks of other like quarterbacks that we could bring in if Kirk does leave, veteran guys. Couple of the reports make me kind of nauseous, like the talk about Russell Wilson, like even with the argument that you could basically pay him next to nothing because of the way his contract works out with Denver. I really don't want any part of Russell Wilson. Outside chance that maybe it was just a fluky bad match with Denver, but he was already kind of on the decline with Seattle anyway, so it's just, I don't want any part of that. But it's not like there's a lot of bridge quarterback options that are super enticing. I mean, there's a couple guys who out there who would be fine, or you could maybe just, if you feel like the rookie, just throw him out there. Everyone else is like, oh, Jordan Love. Well, you don't have to do it that way. I mean, you can throw a guy out there right away and he can perform. or you just get the growing pains out of the way. Growing pains that most of these Vikings fans will have no patience for. You know that for a fact. Most of these fans who are like, oh, we have to draft our quarterback of the future, they're not going to have any patience for the guy. They're not going to have any patience whatsoever. If the guy struggles for 2 games, they're going to call him a bust, and they're going to demand we tank the rest of the season to get another quarterback. Yeah. So, if Kirk leaves, it's gonna suck, and it doesn't mean it's going to be a disaster for the franchise. We'll move on. There have been players who have been better than this that we've survived moving on. There's this belief amongst some of the hardcore Kirk haters that the people who support Kirk are like, oh, we can't ever move on from Kirk, ever, ever, ever. That's complete bullshit. That's not even close to what we believe. We just understand that Kirk is a very good quarterback and has been a very good quarterback for 6 years, and that's not necessarily going to be easy to replace. We understand that you can replace him, but it's not going to be easy. And of course, we got other moves a couple other big moves that are coming up. If we aren't paying Kirk, maybe we pay other guys. Maybe we really go hard building up that defense again. But I mean, the cap went up a bunch. Kwesi's done a very good job. The one thing you cannot criticize Kwesi for is he has really cleared a lot of like, the fat off of the roster and off the off the cap. I was looking, like, the last game of the Zimmer era, we've only got 10 of those starters left from that game, and I think about half of those guys are free agents. So we hear this a lot of times, like, oh, they just want to keep running it back with Kirk. Well, they aren't running it. They haven't been running it back with Kirk. They've turned over the roster almost. Probably by week 1 next season, it's going to be probably like a 90% turnover for the roster. It's just not reality. But I hope and this won't be the last Kirk video, because obviously whenever the news drops of what happens, there will be more to talk about. But I'm already kind of pissed at the people who are trying to take this and now we're gonna mold the narrative into what we think the Kirk Cousins era was with the Vikings. It's like, if your argument is that if you don't win a Super Bowl, it's a failure, fine, it's a failure. That's such a narrow-minded, stupid way to look at sports in general. Not winning titles. The reality is, everyone wants to say, oh, you came to a team that was the game away from the NFC Championship game, or a game away from the Super Bowl. Yeah, but that wasn't the same team then in 2018. We didn't have nearly the same defense. Xavier Rhodes fell off the fucking planet. It just wasn't the same. We had a horrible OC. We had much tougher schedule. Probably overachieved a little bit in 2017 anyway. But everything gets blamed on Kirk. We missed the playoffs a few times. We only have the one playoff win in the Kirk era, which was a great win. People act like that was a nothing win. That was a road win over a 13-3 team. That's a pretty damn good win. But they only want to bring up the Giants game, which, again, everyone wants to bring up the 4th and 8 for from now until the end of time. The only reason that drive even existed is because a Giants receiver dropped a wide open pass, because our fucking defense, the Donatel defense, did not show up at all in that game. They didn't compete. But that drop pass gave us one last drive in that game. Who knows what happens if they even complete the 4th and 8 to convert and keep going from there. We still had to score a touchdown. We still had to go like half the field, score a touchdown. We still had to do something on defense in that game, and there was no reason to think that we would. But again, the narrative, the bullshit narrative, is that the 4th and 8 is what cost the Vikings the game. It's not true. It's kind of a slightly lesser version of the Gary Anderson field goal. Gary Anderson field goal did not cost the Vikings that game. There was a lot of other stuff that happened after that. But history and narratives and people who just aren't very smart. And let's be real. A lot of these Kirk haters just are not very smart. They're just not intelligent people. They don't understand football. They don't understand it's a team game. QB wins is just they live on QB wins. All they care about. Ring culture. If you don't win a title, you're a bum. You're a failure. Well, then there's a whole lot of people in Canton right now then who are failures, including a whole bunch of guys who played for the Vikings. So I got no time for people who are gonna, if this is the end, and he's a Falcon in a week, who are gonna like try to remold the narrative of the Kirk era here as some sort of failure and that Kirk never did anything good for us. Kirk Cousins has balled out for 6 years here. He's been a fantastic player. I'd put his ass in the Ring of Honor. He might not have the longevity for that, but I mean, he's basically like the number 2 quarterback in the history of the franchise. In most areas anyway. But yeah, it's just been a grind for 6 years. Like not in the sense of like Kirk doing it, just the grind of having to deal with the Kirk haters for 6 years. Just the lies and the distortions and just the phony narratives and the just not understanding reality and how football actually works, and having to combat that every day, it seems like, and still having to push back on that because I have to do it. I got to do it, and there's other people who do it too. There are Vikings fans out there. Shout out to them who do understand that Kirk has been a very good player for the Vikings for 6 years. And if this is the end, then he should be thanked, on the way out, way out the door. Salute the guy. Thanks for 6 years. Wins and losses didn't always get where we wanted, but it ain't his fault. He got us a lot more wins than we would have had without him, especially with some of those defenses. But then they'll always say, well, it's Kirk because of Kirk's contract that we couldn't. Get the defense going. No, it was actually years and years of terrible drafts on the defensive side of the ball that made that the reality, and that is why Rick Spielman is not the GM of the Vikings anymore, because he had years and years and years of terrible defensive drafts, and frankly, Kwesi hasn't done a whole lot better to this point on defense. At least he got us a hell of a coordinator, but. So, what are we at? 22 minutes. Well, there's going to be a lot more to talk about with Kirk and other moves. I mean, there's going to be other moves too for the Vikings. There's already been some rumors about some defensive guys that we might try to bring in. I mean, I would certainly think that if Kirk is gone, whatever we do with the QB position, they're gonna focus in on loading up on that defensive side of the ball. Will we get Danielle Hunter back? I kind of doubt we're going to re-sign Danielle Hunter. I think he's going to get just a truckload of cash from somebody, because he's never really had that giant, mega deal yet, and this is probably his last chance. And I know he hasn't made as much as Kirk, but it's like no one's demeaning Danielle Hunter for going after the money if that's what he does. And frankly, nobody's going after Justin Jefferson for trying to get the biggest receiver contract. In general, I don't look down on, especially football players, because there's much more of a physical risk. I never look down on football players for if they're going for the money, because and Kirk's made a lot of money, but again, he's gonna get paid one way or the other. I'll set it in stone again. I think if the offer is close, and we may never know, but if the offer between, say, Atlanta and the Vikings, if these are close offers, I do think he will end up back here. And boy, will it be glorious to see the people have to eat crow for all the slander the last few days. But all right, I'm going to cut this off because I tend to go way long. So I think Kirk is probably gone. Like, if I had to put money on it, I think he's going to be gone. But I will be hoping. I will be very happy if he's back here for another year or two, and then we can draft a QB and have him learn from Kirk, and then have him take over from Kirk in a couple years and go from there.